I'm going to go to my own website, michaelsavage.com. I want you to look at it. I want you to find it. It's of a man. I'll call him a man. Here it is. If you're going to San Francisco, don't. There's a man, we'll call him a man, with about a 6-foot-long metal bar walking down the street, smashing car windows, not even stealing anything. He looks like a deranged, homeless man because he has a garbage bag in his hand. He looks like he belongs in a mental hospital, which he does. But since all of San Francisco has now become an open ward, he actually is in the mental hospital created by the city fathers and mothers like Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi. They have created a mental hospital for them. It's just an outpatient ward called the City of San Francisco. The whole city is now an outpatient ward. So there's a picture of a man walking down the street with a 6-foot metal bar, smashing in the windows of cars, not robbing anything. You know why he's doing it? Because he's gone to San Francisco with a flower in his hair. But it's not a flower in his hair anymore. It began with the Woodstock generation, and here is the end of that arc. What began under the guise of peace and love and let's drop some acid, let's smoke a doobie, let's have some hash, let's listen to Jimmy, let's all do it in the road, has now metastasized into this nightmare. And how did it happen? Because once you lift the restrictions of a society at its root, what you do is you unleash everything. And it all doesn't end up in love and peace. What it ends up is with burning and mayhem. You know, I was studying the Woodstock thing last night. For some reason, I had a book on it. It's a pretty book. The hippie kids, you know, the girls without the brassieres and the guys with the jeans. Everyone making believe they're for peace and love and the anti-war. Most of the guys are in it because they just thought they could, you know, have sex, whatever. That the women were loose if they moved their hips to Jimmy at Woodstock. They figured they get, you know, whatever they wanted that night. And they did. That's the way it was. Because most of the communist revolution in America was promoted with sex, with free love. It's a funny story. I don't think I ever told it, but it just leads me to a story. I remember, again, when I was a kid, you know, you learn a lot of things when you're young. If you have So my father, again, uneducated man, but very smart, street person, street guy, not a homeless person, a hardworking immigrant. I don't know how we came up to the discussion. I don't know how it even arose. I was in college probably spouting off about socialism or something that I learned from one of the emigre communist professors at Queens College. You know, they escaped Hitler and came here and brought communism to the country. I didn't know they were brainwashing me. I listened to it. They taught me about Dewey and Schmooey and this. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Turns out most of them who were teaching me were communists, hardcore communists. They ran from Europe. They brought the poison that they were running away from here. I didn't know when I was a kid. So I started talking about it. I went to my father. So he says, you know, he said back in the 30s when he was young, he said the communists were making big inroads in the country because of the Great Depression. And he said one of the things they used to recruit men was free love. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, they had the women, the communist women, would go down to the meeting halls. And basically he said he uses a vulgar word. I can't use it on the radio. But you can use the word, the men, in order to convert them into communism and have them sign up. He said, a lot of the guys signed up. They didn't even care what they were signing up for. All they know is they had a good time. Have things really changed that much? You're telling me half these dumb college girls who are stoned out of their gourds aren't being used by the people who are running these violent groups to, let us say, recruit for their common cause, which is the destruction of America? Anyway, I get distracted. All I can say is watch the noble pelicans and compare them with the leftist vermin who are destroying this country. Again, you can learn a lot from animals. They're far, far more advanced than we are. And my love for animals is becoming increasingly important to me in these times. People say, how do you take this every day? I got to tell you, it's like being an oncologist who comes to work every day and you call it news stories. I would say they're x-rays. I put these x-rays called news stories up on the screen and I see that the cancer has spread and it's almost incurable. When you have a cancer like we have with this anarchist movement, the communist movement, the hardcore so-called activist movement, they are a cancer. And like all cancers, the cancer must be treated rapidly or it spreads and destroys the entire body. Am I right or wrong? If a doctor tells you you have cancer, tell me what you do. Do you pray? Well, maybe you pray, but you probably will take chemo. You'll probably take radiation. With your screaming about natural medicine, you'll do whatever the doctor tells you to do because you know you have a better chance of survival with Western medicine than with vitamins alone. Okay, we all know that. Tell me what you would do to stop the anarchists. Tell me how you would do anything different than the greatest social oncologist of our times, Dr. Donald Trump.
Home of borders, language, culture, the Savage Nation.